take a look at this topic from two angles. First, from the consumer angle. I hate to tell you that every trace you leave behind you will not just be there, it will stay there forever, for your entire life. And I think we tend to forget about that. I think we sometimes become somewhat greedy and lazy, and so we leave those trails behind, we forget about things, we just want to do something which is very quick and dirty, and guess what happens? We suddenly have a trail out there. I think it's important for you as a consumer to create your own guidelines for what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And now, if you do that right now, you will not be upset. But if you forget about it, there's an issue. A good friend of mine, a young kid actually working in an organization, was a photo model before he started to work for our organization. And he did all these Italian photos, as you do, and they're just all over the place. And now, he didn't think about it because he was 18, 19 years of age, and even though they're fashion photos, they're kind of interesting fashion photos if you are working as a corporate in a corporation, and suddenly you pick up those photos from this guy 30 years later, and they send a sign. And I think a lot of people are just not thinking about that once you've done it, the damage is done. I think the most important thing you can do is to be incredibly aware of it. Now, from a customer, from a corporation's point of view, the story is slightly different. My rule of thumb is you should never do to children what you wouldn't do to your own. Meaning you shouldn't do to consumers what you wouldn't do to your own friends. And if you follow that as a guideline internally, I think you're pretty safe. But beside that, I think you should allow the consumer or the customer to be involved in the process of uncovering data you have about them. Now, for example, let's say that you're capturing a lot of information about the consumer. What I would do then is to inform the consumer about it, and I'll allow them access to your database of everything you know about them. And tell them, hey, if you approve all the data we have, these are the benefits you get. Maybe it's discount, maybe it's no waiting time on the phone, whatever it is. And by the way, if you want to delete all this data, you'll be last in line because we don't know who you are. And by the way, the discount won't be that high because we don't know if you are a regular customer. And then it's up to the consumer to make their choices. But I think the most important thing is you don't make the decision on their behalf. They make it on your behalf instead. The average consumer is very concerned about the privacy issue. But when it comes to the final end, they don't care. And that's so ironic. Because here's the issue. When we're busy, when we're lazy, when we're tired, or when we want to save some money, we're willing to do a shortcut. And unfortunately, that shortcut is to give a little bit of privacy away to someone who's controlling it. Here's the issue. The consumer is very well aware of that doing it, but they're not thinking about the consequences at that very moment. And it's first later on when they see the consequences, they will start to hate the brand for it. So personally, what I would say a consumer should do is to think about the consequences, and you as an organization should try to fast forward as well and tell the consumer about what are the consequences. Does it mean I'll receive 15 emails a year? Does it mean that I'll get special offers when I'm walking down the street on my smartphone, which are correlating the weather and if I'm in a good or bad mood? Tell them about what this will mean so you've been transparent. You see, here's the issue. Brands which are willing to share the small print, the big letters in front of the consumer will gain so much more respect than the opposite. Because if it is the opposite, people feel cheated even though they're informed up front.